I'm Maddie. This is a different perspective, a Native American nations in the Civil War. The Civil War is often framed as a battle over slavery and sectionalism, but Native nations faced a different struggle, one of survival, sovereignty, and displacement. This presentation explores the impact of U.S. expansionism on indigenous communities, revealing overlooked narratives that challenge traditional perspectives on American history. History is often told through a singular lens, ignoring the experiences of marginalized communities. While the fight between North and South shaped the war, Native nations were caught in a battle for their land and identity. Broken treaties, forced removals, and exclusion from national debates reveal a broader historical context that deserves recognition. Long before the Civil War, Native nations faced pressures from expansionist policies. The Compromise of 1850 in Bleeding, Kansas fueled settler invasions, violating agreements meant to protect indigenous lands, while Native voices remained absent from debates that directly affected their futures. Manifest Destiny drove settlers onto Native lands, disregarding sovereignty and treaties. The U.S. government prioritized territorial growth over indigenous survival, redefining land as property rather than a shared resource. For Native nations, these policies weren't just political, they threatened their way of life. John Brown's raid is remembered for its impact on slavery, but Native nations saw it as another sign of escalating violence that ignored their struggles. Lincoln's election in 1860 further raised concerns that would fuel federal policies that protected Native rights and continued expansion at their expense. Native nations took different approaches during the war. Some sided with the Union, believing it would protect their sovereignty. Others allied with the Confederacy, hoping for territorial control. Many remained neutral, knowing that regardless of who won, their lands and rights were still at risk. The Indian Removal Act and similar policies made it clear that the government valued expansion over promises to Native nations. Treaties meant to protect indigenous sovereignty were disregarded, resulting in forced relocations and the loss of vital resources. The Civil War was just one piece of this larger pattern. The struggle then continued after the war, forced assimilation, land disposition, and broken promises persisted for decades. The Indian Recognition Act of 1934 attempted reform, but even that reflected federal control over indigenous governance rather than truth self-determination. Beyond the battle between North and South, the Civil War was also territorial. It was also about territorial expansion and indigenous marginalization. Recognizing Native histories forced us to rethink this era, not just as a fight over slavery, but as a period that reshaped U.S. expansion at the expense of indigenous sovereignty. The fight for Native survival was deeply connected to race, class, and culture. Settlers justified land grabs through racist stereotypes, while wealth disparities impacted tribes' ability to resist. Cultural differences also shaped conflicts as indigenous ways of life clashed with American ideas of progress. Looking back at these stories shows us the importance of including all voices in conversations about justice. The exclusion of Native perspectives during the Civil War reminds us why representation in historical analysis matters. These lessons can inform policies today. History has long been told from a Eurocentric lens, sidelining Native voices. Decolonizing Native narratives isn't just about rewriting textbooks, it's about ensuring the perspectives of marginalized communities are heard, valued, and recognized in discussions of history and policy. The Civil War was not just about slavery and sectionalism. It was part of a broader pattern of expansionism and that deeply impacted Native nations. Broken treaties, land loss, and exclusion shaped indigenous experiences in ways often overlooked. By recognizing these perspectives, we strengthen discussions on justice and inclusivity. History is more complete when it includes voices that have traditionally been left out. The Civil War should not only be seen as a fight between the North and the South, but as a turning point in the ongoing struggle for indigenous survival and sovereignty. By learning from the past, we build a future that values diversity and justice. Thank you for taking the time to engage in this presentation. Native voices are vital to understanding the full scope of American history. By expanding perspectives, we can ensure history isn't just about dominant voices, but about all communities that have shaped our nation. I appreciate your time and reflections. Thank you.